Hello again, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is John D. Healy. I do a podcast. It's called It's Good to Talk. Got into podcasts because I produced a book for my good friend Tony McGurn during lockdown. It's all his life story from he was born in 1941, and it's from 1941 up until recently. It's on audio. It's on book form. You can buy it on Amazon. And yes, people do ask, is he still alive? He's still alive. 84 years old, I guess. If you take 41 from 5, and Stoney's in good shape. Come back to Stoney in another podcast. My sponsors are Liffey Vanlines. They're a moving company here in New York City, and they've been around longer than Jeopardy. Probably one of the top moving companies in New York City. And when it comes to moving, always let Liffey do the lifting. I always give a shout out to the Irish Examiner newspaper, irishexaminerusa.com. Paddy McCarthy comes from a music background and a managing background of managing bands. So lots of good news usually on festivals and music events and general music music and issues when he's out and about, speaking out and about. Tobias Burke is the owner of LTB Mechanical, and he's out and about a lot. They do heating and cooling, and they're all over the place, and they've been around probably 40 years plus too. If you are a hotel or a business, you don't need your AC to go off in the middle of summer. So LTB Mechanical for air conditioning. Who did I leave out? I guess I left out somebody, but I will come to somebody in a minute in my list of sponsors I usually mention. I'm on my own today, so I want to brush up on some housekeeping and let you know who's coming and who's not coming. I tried to do an interview last week with Pádraig O'Hora from Ballina in Mayo. He's a superstar footballer for the Mayo team, the county team, and now he's playing with the Stephenites. Pádraig has a big event coming up next year. He'll be climbing Mount Everest. We were trying to talk last week on a podcast, but it was raining here in New York, and it was raining in Mayo and Ballina and Balmullet, so we didn't have a good connection. But Pádraig will be back to talk more about his challenge in climbing Mount Everest. He did climb another mountain in Argentina last year, and he's doing a lot of training. Well, he's training for football, so he's in good shape. He's a young man. He's a role model for young footballers, not just young footballers, indeed people in general, of his commitment to helping people with disabilities and people with autism. And he's especially involved with a charity I was involved with, which deals with mental depression. So I'll come back to Pádraig. Before his climb of Everest, he came to me from the Mayo Society of New York, as they're very good at sending me referrals of people that need publicity and exposure. You remember Breege Rowley? She wrote a film, All of Our Yesterdays, and when she was on my podcast, someone found her from Chicago, and her movie will be filmed and aired in Chicago and possibly New York the next year. So good for her. I had a guest, my last guest on was Thomas Fitzsimons. You remember Thomas produced this book. He has many, many books. This book is called An Ordinary Man, Extraordinary Man, and this book is a memoir too, actually. But he goes from a policeman in New York City to male model, of course, for Tom Ford, the modeling agency. He also did acting and security work, and he was very involved when he was in his 40s and 30s with Marla Maples, Donald Trump, and the high life of New York City. So there's lots of stories from Manhattan. So on that podcast, you got a flavour of what's in the book. We plan to do a part 2 due to you, my listeners, asking me that you want to hear more of Tom Fitzsimons and the stories from that era of high life in New York, Studio 54. Indeed, Jeffrey Epstein features in the podcast, as well as Mike Tyson, and as well as O.J. Simpson, and a lot of names and a lot of places. PJ Clark's, no doubt, is one of his regular bars, so it's one of mine too. Bartender Jerry Biggins is there. I don't know if he was there for some of these stories, but the building is there. And who else? Carl Lewis gets a mention, and the Kinsale Tavern. Lots of shenanigans in the book, of course, but I'm not going to spill the book. You have to buy the book, of course, to get it on Amazon too. So moving along, the Mayo Society also asked me to do some more stuff in terms of promoting them. They've been around since the famine time, and they asked me to read an article that was sent in to them dating back then. And let me get it for you now, and I'll read it to you. It's a bit of interesting history, actually, and it's called The Ship That Sailed from New York back and forth to Liverpool. And I'll just read it. It's the Lusitania, and there was a lot of people from Mayo on it, and it sunk. So here you go. On 7th of May 1915, the British ocean liner RMS Lusitania was torpedoed and sunk by a German submarine, what's known as a U-boat, causing the deaths of 1,198 passengers and crew. Holder of the Blue Ribbon Award, which means it was a very successful ship, and it made 101 round-trip voyages, or 202 crossings, during almost an 8-month career before the fateful final voyage. Lusitania departed New York for Liverpool on the afternoon of the 7th of May 1915. She was torpedoed off the coast of Ireland, about 11 miles south of Old Head of Kinsale. Kinsale is in County Cork, and Old Head means peninsula. She sank in 18 minutes. Of the known 1,960 people on board, 167 survived and 1,194 perished in the Lusitania disaster. 4 of the survivors died in the following months, bringing the numbers from 762 survivors down. The sinking caused a storm of protest in the United States, as it would, as more Americans were among the dead, and this event helped shift the public opinion in the United States against Germany, and indeed influenced the declaration of the war 2 years later. From records, it appears there were 13 victims from Mayo and 8 survivors from County Mayo. I'll just give you a list of those, the victims, names you might have. If you're Irish American, those names might resonate with you. Hannah Kniff was age 30, single, third-class passenger. John Fearick, a great Mayo name, age 26, and he was a third-class passenger from Ballinrobe. He was 10 years in the United States on a visit home. Margaret Fearick was a brother to John, and she was only 22, third-class passenger. The crew, Patrick Brown, age 24, he was a coal worker from Ballyheen. Patrick Coyne, same, age 24, he must be a buddy, Ballyheen. Thomas Costello was a fireman from Killawalla, age 30. Patrick Campbell was also a fireman, born in Fisher Hill in County Mayo, and lived in Newry. Another fireman, age 25, Patrick Hopkins, Castlebar. Thomas Carney was a fireman too. A lot of these guys must have been buddies. Peter Gavin was age 38. He was also a coal worker, born in County Mayo. Martin Walsh, another coal worker, born in Mayo. Jeremiah Sweeney was from Turla, Castlebar. And another Patrick Carney, 25, and he worked in the coal part as well. The passengers that survived, these are interesting because they survived. Henry Nee Ruan was 24, married, third-class passenger from Flintford, and she was pregnant with her first child on the voyage. So I assume the mother and the child survived, and that's an interesting one. I'd love to delve more into that one. Delia Kilkenny was age 33. She was a third-class passenger from Ahamore, Ballyhonas, and her first cousin was Hannah Kniff, who died on the Lusitania. So some died, some survived, and she was on a trip back home to see her sick father. She went on to marry Edward Pollock from Colchama on the Easter Islands in 1916. Her family donated a rug to the Colchama Museum. Jenny Ruan was 29, single, third-class passenger from Flintford, and she was returning home after spending a number of years in Chicago. John Sweeney was a second-class passenger from Ballina, County Mayo, brother-in-law James Murphy, vice president of Ballina Urban District Council, and he had lived in New York. Margaret Toohey from Rouskey, Mass. She immigrated to the USA and was on a trip home. She never returned to the US, and she married Pat Mulhern from Boher Olla and had a family of 4, Mary Feeney from Claremorris, Mayo, and Elizabeth O'Donnell from Foxford. Crew, James Moran was 24, a fireman, and he survived as well. So there was a lot of connections from Mayo, and indeed some of the bodies that didn't survive were washed up on the shores of Mayo, I guess near Achill and the surrounding area. So sad history indeed, but you can just go to show you how fickle life is. I did say to you as well, topics here. A number of weeks ago I said I might do an Agony page, an Agony topic, like a dear Auntie Anne, but this is a dear Uncle John. And I did get an email from a young man who's 32 years old, and I'll come to that at the end. A married guy with a young girl, full-time job, and he got caught up in a little dilemma with a lady of the night, and it deals with blackmail. So I'll tell you the whole story, and you can make comments afterwards. I will answer his problem, and don't switch off, because it's not your problem today, but who knows, maybe it will be your problem someday, and maybe you can learn some advice about how not to get blackmailed and what you do if you do get blackmailed. I'm going to call on Jimmy Grady to sing a song for us. So Jimmy, let you take it away, Jimmy.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste the moonshine, teardrops in my eyes, country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. country roads. All my memories gather round her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste the moonshine, teardrops in my eyes. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads. I hear her voice in the morning hour, she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm back to you again. So I did mention Paul Cahora, and I want to mention as well Martin Moore, who was on this podcast. He's working with the Special Olympics, and his friend did climb Mount Everest a number of years ago, Professor John Egan, and he actually, I don't know if he climbed it more than once, but he died on Mount Everest of a heart attack. So it's not an easy climb, without a doubt, and it is a challenge. John Egan helped build a school in Kathmandu in Nepal for the orphans and the poor children, and Martin Moore was instrumental in helping with that. And indeed, I chipped in myself, and the staff at Liffey chipped in. We bought a small little brick, so we all have a little brick in that school. Now I will get the Liffey segment in here, and we're talking to Robert O'Donnell and Taylor O'Reilly.
If you've ever moved, then you understand how stressful it is for most people, especially in New York City. The packing, the transporting, and the unpacking can be a real burden, but one local company is changing the game.
Moving in or out of the city can be extremely difficult for most customers. It's not just as simple as moving straight in and out of the front of the building. Most buildings in Manhattan have service entrances. They have double elevators. Parking in Manhattan is near impossible these days between bike lanes and city bikes and everything else. And that's just one aspect of the move. Moving brokers are not movers. Moving brokers are going to take your move and they're going to give you a price, and then they're going to take it and they're going to farm it out to the cheapest individual that they can find. These people aren't necessarily insured. They're not necessarily full-time movers. Their items get loaded up on the truck and the movers turn around and they start slapping them with all kinds of fees, more than they were initially quoted. And these are all things that a regular mover would take into account when doing your estimate.
Since 1975, Liffey Vanlines has been helping New Yorkers move. Whether cross-town or cross-country, they will take care of everything.
The first thing we would do when a customer is booking a move is we would send them out a move contract. That way it entails everything that we are planning on doing, and so that there's no questions involved on the day. Then we would deal with setting up elevator reservations and insurance documents, and then we would coordinate times so that way they know when we're arriving.
So one of the ways I think we reduce a lot of the stress for customers on the day of the move would be the level of communication leading up to the day of the move, as well as every move has a dedicated super on the job, and their job is primarily to interface between the customer and the office to make sure that everything goes as smooth as possible. The in-home estimate that we perform prior to the move definitely alleviates a lot of the stress because the customer knows exactly what we're going to be moving, and there's no surprises on either end. We offer specialized crating of artwork and breakables, third-party disassembly, full packing, international wrap for all our international moves. All of our furniture is wrapped in moving blankets. Even when it comes to our storage, it'll remain in its moving blankets to protect it while in storage. We have teams of movers for every size move, from a studio apartment in the heart of Manhattan to a 4-story brownstone. We can send anything from a man in a van to 10 trucks and 30 guys. We can handle any size move anywhere. Every move's mindset is going to be courteous, professional, responsive to the customer, to make sure that they're not worrying about things they don't need to be worrying about on the day of their move.
Our guys arrive here early enough in the morning. We prep our trucks, make sure they have the right supplies and right materials to bring down to the job. Our crew would then arrive on the job. Our foreman would meet with the client to go over and just do a walkthrough of the move with the person, then start packing, wrapping up furniture, and when they arrive at your new home and finish delivering everything inside, the foreman goes and makes sure everything has been completed and nothing has been missed. So we can proudly say that we are Allied Vanlines' only Manhattan agent, which is an amazing thing to say. Allied Vanlines allows us to move our customers within New York, out of state, as well as internationally, and we are able to partner up with over 300 North American companies, as well as 45 other countries where they have companies that they work with as well. So it really allows us to move you around the world.
Are you ready to move? It's time to let Liffey Vanlines do the heavy lifting.
So in the past, we have had some customers that have tried to move themselves. They go out, they go through the expense of renting the truck, they get a couple of their buddies, a few pizza pies, and they think they're gonna make it 1, 2, 3. But in reality, it's a lot more than just 1, 2, 3. And I know the last thing I want to do is have my friends mad at me for trying to move a sofa myself and hurting my back. After 50 years, we're still in business in the heart of Manhattan, one of the toughest places not only to move, but one of the toughest places I think in the world to run a business. We've seen it all, and we've done it all. And there's no move too big or too small that we can't handle.
Here at Liffey, we have a saying: where Liffey goes, satisfaction follows. So let us prove that to you. So if you, a friend, a family member, or anyone that you know has a move coming up, let Liffey do the lifting for you.
For more information about Liffey Vanlines, visit their website, liffey.com.
I will have some other podcasts I will have coming up. I will have a tattoo artist coming up soon, and he is here in Harlem locally. He just opened a new tattoo shop recently, and he'll be able to explain to us some of the aspects of his business, tattoos. You remember we had Josh the barber on, and he explained a lot of inside stories about what it's like to be a barber, and you're sitting on the chair and you're like the patient in a psychiatrist or a psychologist's office, and you're telling your barber everything, but your barber could also not just fix the outside of your head, but he could fix the inside of your head. So lots of stories like that coming up, and our podcast coming up in the future. Getting close to the season of Thanksgiving and Christmas, I will have lots of more podcasts on, and if you like the podcast, do subscribe. You can also get all of my old podcasts on johndhealy.com. So johndhealy.com, all the past ones are there. I'm almost 4 years here. I'm getting old at this job, but it's not killing me yet, and you are my listeners, and that's why I do it for you, to entertain and educate, of course. Now, getting to my young man who sent me an email about his predicament problem, and as I said, don't switch off, because it's not your problem today, but someday it might be your problem. You never know. So Jack is 32 years old. He's married. He has a beautiful wife. He has a young girl who's a beautiful girl, I assume, and life is good. He's working as a painter for a painting contractor. Very, very busy. He makes good money. And a few weeks back, he didn't say how many weeks back, but he was tempted on a Friday evening after getting his bonus wages to get on his phone, and he was listening to other guys, and he hired, I guess, a hooker, a prostitute, to bring her to a motel, and he was playing around despite his beautiful wife. So he's in the motel with the prostitute, and they're having fun, lots of fun, and he goes to the bathroom, and she picks up his phone, and she takes details of information of his phone. Most importantly, she takes his wife's phone number. Now, they're having fantastic sex, and sex is good as long as it has a happy ending. Jack has a tattoo, he told me, on the inner thigh of his leg, speaking of tattoos, and they were frolicking around with such fun and humour And the prostitute decided to take a photograph of the beautiful tattoo on the inner leg. All was well and done, and you'd think everything was happy there, and everything was happily and merrily. A few days later, she texted Jack, and she said she needed money, like about $150, because she had expenses, and she was a single mother, and the usual sad story. So Jack is being blackmailed, and he felt obligated to send her the $150 as long as she'd go away. Situations like that, unfortunately, they don't go away. The prostitute waited a few days, and she called again looking for $200. Otherwise, she was going to call his wife and blackmail him and send her a photograph of the beautiful tattoo on his thigh, just to prove that it was him, her husband, that she slept with. Now, what would you do to help Jack end his trauma, his drama, and how do you get rid of this prostitute that she's not constantly draining money? Now, he said he makes good money, he has plenty of money, but where does it end? Every week is he going to have to give $150, $200, $300, maybe $500 to keep the prostitute from telling his wife? Well, Jack, here is Uncle John. And what Uncle John is going to give you is good advice, and you, my listeners, can evaluate, and afterwards, if you want to put in the comments if my advice was good or if I'm just not helping him. But I want to help him because I think it's a terrible situation for Jack to be in. This is his only time, according to him, of committing sin and being unfaithful to his wife. So Jack, this is what you have to do. Not easy, Jack. This is a bitter pill. So Jack, you are going to have to meet with your wife in a private situation, not when your daughter is there. And you are going to have to open your heart and your mind. And you need a box of tissues because you're going to cry. And you are going to have to admit to your lovely wife of the huge error, mistake, the stupidity of what you did. And you have to be totally honest. And you better cry. And you better be sincere. And you better explain to your wife that yes, there was drink involved. And yes, you never did this before. And yes, you will never do it again. And you do love her. And you will never have anything to do with this prostitute again. And you just need to admit it. You could get away with not saying about the money, being paying the money. Let's kind of keep that on the side yet. If you want, you could open your heart, open your mind and say, yes, she's screwing you for money. But then the wife might say, well, you wouldn't tell me at all if she wasn't extorting you for money. So that one I'll let you, jury is out on that one. But you must admit to your wife that you were unfaithful. And then you do that and you might get a slap across the face, and maybe you deserve a slap across the face if she doesn't storm out, but hopefully she loves you and she'll calm down. You do have beautiful girls, so logic might kick in. And, you have to admit you are a bold boy. So you're a bold boy, but you're not a bad boy. So then you can text the prostitute and tell her you're not going to pay her any more money because your hard-earned money is for your wife and for your children, pay your mortgage, and I'm sure you have expenses like everybody else. At this point, you don't need to tell the prostitute that you told your wife, and you can call her bluff and let her say if she wants to call the wife, let her call the wife. And hopefully that will put a stop to it. If she keeps harassing you for the money, then I think you can tell her that you're going to notify the police for blackmail, and you will expose her, and they will find her, and they will deal with her on a legal road. But you want to avoid some of that stuff because it might get a bit messy. So deal with step one first. Call her bluff, admit to your wife. Jack, I hope this solution to your problem has helped you in some ways. And Jack, be careful when you drink too much. Do not let your small penis head take over your big brain, your big head. So stay faithful to your wife. You love her and you have a child and you have a responsibility. Marrying a woman comes responsibility. Having a young baby brings responsibility. So be a responsible young man. I'm sorry that you got for your situation. I hope I helped solve you. And with that, I'll leave you and hope that things brighten up for you. It's not the end of the world, Jack, but be careful out there. It's a big world out there, and there's a lot of prostitutes out there. That's my solution. So with that, my listeners, I will, end my podcast today. I hope you enjoyed.